it's time to take stock. Most of us fear doing that because we are afraid that we'll feel inadequate, that we'll feel like we're not well achieved, that we haven't done what we came to do. So if you're like me, you just put it off and you put it off and you put it off. But autumn is the perfect time for it because it's time to grab a cup of tea. It's time to have a little inside time. You notice I got my cozy sweater on because it was raining and it's chilly here today. So how do you do that? And what does it even mean? And can you come to a place where you feel okay about taking stock? Where you go, it's okay for me to get in right relationship with everything I do and do not have not achieved, and that. So that when you do it from a place of mindfulness, it's not punitive. You're not criticizing yourself. You're not making yourself wrong for what you haven't achieved or haven't done or don't have. What you're doing is you're allowing yourself to have a little sip of tea. You're allowing yourself to have some spaciousness. So create some sacred space and look at some areas of your life. When I'm doing Shamanic Spirit School, which is the second Saturday every month, what we do is we start before I've even called in sacred space, before we do any of that, we start with checking in. And we check in with ourselves. Where are you physically? And I say, here's how you do it so that it's easy. So I say, are you down here at a 0, lower than a snake's belly? Or are you up here soaring like an eagle at 10? And then you rate yourself. You rate yourself in these 5 areas. You rate yourself physically. How are you physically today? How are you emotionally? How are you in relationships? How are you financially? How are you emotionally? So it's physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, and relationships. So how are you in those areas? Are you fulfilled? Do you have the relationship of your dreams? Do you have the career of your dreams? And I talk a lot about dreams because this past period of time has really freed me up to not be attached to a whole lot of physical possessions. And when you have that freedom, and you have the luxury of being able to dive deep into this time-honored practice of taking stock. And so why is right now the perfect time? Well, you might see leaves fall back there. And as that's falling, as nature is letting go of what no longer serves, we can do that too. We can align with nature. We can align with ourselves. We can find some traditions call it true north, our authenticity. So nature herself is going into a period of rest and renewal. So when we take stock now and we're in that period of rest and renewal, what we can do is if we find a place that we are not appreciating exactly where we are, well, then we get to do this wonderful thing where we get to go and do some self-reflection. And now is the time. So it's time to naturally slow down. And the things that I'm going to talk about, a couple of things, 3 things actually today, and maybe if this catches enough attention, I'll do it again. So physically, reflect on how do you feel right now? I've just watched one of my friends put himself on a regime that is no sugar, no cola, no processed foods whatsoever. And what I'm noticing and watching, and because he's important to me, I watch the progress, and then, you know what? I'm inspired. So I'm inspired to more physically take care of myself. And when you are taking care of yourself, well, one of the things that happens is that you have better self-esteem because you're actually doing for you. So what is it that you could do for yourself? How can you better care for this? I call it the temple of your body. How can you do that? So take stock. You know, are you eating a lot of things left over from the summer where we were maybe going to parties and picnics and that kind of stuff? So take a moment and reflect on, how do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel right now? And give yourself one of those values, from lower than a snake's belly down here to soar, and that's a 0, up here soaring like an eagle. It's just a place to notice. There's no criticism about it. It's just, and when we do this, when we allow ourselves to just notice, oh, today I feel terrible, or today I feel fabulous. It's just a noticing. It's not a sentence that you have to carry out. You know, emotions are energy in motion. Someone got very clever, and what they did, let me just put this down. What they did is they took the E off of energy and motion and stuck it together. Now we have this idea that emotions are something that make us feel good or make us feel bad. They're all transitory. And when we allow them to come, feel them, embrace them, and then let them go, what happens is we are more in the flow. So how can you do that? Emotionally, how are you? Are you flowing easily? Or are you sometimes noticing that you're all jangly and, and like that? So I have the great good fortune right now to be out in the country. And because I'm out in the country, well, I'm surrounded by trees. Let me see if I can show you. I think I can. All the way over there. And all the way over here. And so with that ability to be in nature, like really in nature, some people are afraid of nature because they're afraid that something might happen and they don't know what it is. But when you actually go out and go for a walk, and I encourage you, if you are a worker bee and you're a 9-to-5er or have something like that, regular things, take yourself outside. And nature is everywhere. Most cities have trees. And so just by walking outside of that building, you're going to notice a shift in your energy. And this is part of how you take care of your physicality and how you take care of your emotional landscape. So what feelings are you holding on to? Are you holding a grudge from something 2 weeks ago, 2 days ago, 2 years ago, 2 decades ago? And if you are, then there's wonderful forgiveness ceremonies that you can do so that you really clear the space, you clear the energetic space inside of you for more joy, more love, more bliss. So if you're holding on to something, then one of the things in my Craft Your Dream Life program is that we actually deal with that. We heal old wounds. So if you're holding on to something from the past, then it's actually got you. You haven't got it. And when you write it out, and you just give yourself a very limited amount of time. You don't do this for 2 days. You do it for 45 minutes. Because if it doesn't come up in 45 minutes, it's really not all that important. So you can just let it go. But if it is something that's festering away, that's causing you angst, then take a moment, take 45 moments, and sit down and write about it. At the end, burn it. That's an old story that has no life left in it. And then bury that old story. Be done with it. Don't speak it again. If you happen to notice yourself getting into that, then stop yourself and just go, oh, wait a minute. That's a dead old story, or an old dead story. So how are you physically? How are you emotionally? And then let's talk about your material world, because if you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm home free. So those material possessions are not something that I'm attached to. Now, it was a process. It took a few months for me to get unattached and detached. But the level of freedom that I now feel from downsizing, it really is very joyous. And most of the time, not all, because, you know, I'm human, you're human, we are all doing the best. We're all doing our best at our state of consciousness. So look at your material possessions. And are they uplifting you, or do they feel like they're burdens? If they feel like they're burdens, then by all means, give them, sell them, donate, find some way to move them to the side of your life. Because we're not here to be burdened. We're not here to be struggling. We're not here to be inundated and pushing away things. We're here to actually live in bliss. And when you find ways to look at yourself, your physical self, your emotional self, your material self, and you're willing to take stock right now, don't wait for another day, and you know where you're at, it's a way for you to really get to know yourself. Because when you know where you are, you know, when you set out in a journey, you might have a destination, but it's a good idea to know where you're starting. So this little piece that I'm gifting you today about self-evaluating, taking stock, and do it from a place of curiosity. Do it from a place of, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Whoa, I have that over there. You might find some assets that you didn't know you had. And so look for that and do it with gratitude. It doesn't need to be overwhelming. And when people are out there telling you, you know, it's not supposed to be easy, well, ask them why. Why isn't it supposed to be easy? As a matter of fact, I totally believe it's meant to be gracious, lots of gratitude. It's meant to have ease, and it's also meant to be blissful. So as you go through this process and you learn what you have, what's working and what's not working, get to offload the not working, and in that there's an immense amount of freedom. So set some quiet time aside, light a candle, you know, get something, get a beverage, you know, I'm all about the tea. Get your journal and start to journal about this and make it September 2024. Where am I? And then look at where you are and be as compassionate and grateful and non-judgmental as you possibly can. Because when you do that, when you write it and you're in that process of not just thinking about it, but you're concretizing it because you've got it written down, and you can go back and see, oh, is this serving me? And if it's not serving me, then it's okay for you to drop it. So we're in the natural rhythm of change right now. And when you use nature, you know, shamanism is all about how do I incorporate, align with nature in all the places of my life? Where am I guided to be? And as you do this, taking stock allows you to be aligned with your true, authentic self. So this is one of the ways that you get to know yourself. What's serving, what's not serving, and I've given you some tools to do that. Look at your physicality. Look at your emotions. Look at your finances. Look at your spirituality, and look at your relationships, and allow yourself to have some time to do some assessing from a non-judgmental, compassionate, loving place. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Don't give yourself any grief about this, because if you wouldn't say it to a 3-year-old, you're not allowed to say it to yourself. So there you have natural rhythms right now. Perfect time of the year to do this. So let's do some stock taking with no judgment, no shame, no blame, and no guilt, because I'm the dream queen. And if I can do this, you can do this. So let's give away some love so we can get some. So energize your hands. put your hands on your heart, take a nice deep breath, and open your arms fully to give. Give it away, give it away, give it away. Accept and embrace all the good the universe has for me. One more time. I open fully and freely to give it away, accept big old bowls with your hands, and embrace, put it in your heart. All the good the universe has for me. One last time. I open fully and freely to give, accept, and embrace all the good the universe has for me. Namaste, aho, bliss, and in case no one has told you so far today, you are amazing. Thanks for being here. Hey, Adam, nice to see you. And blessings, and I will see you again. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a fabulous rest of your day.